Must be something in the way I feel that she don't want me to feel. Starship as a cut me. I don't care. You see, so what if I bleed? I can never change what I feel. My face will never show what is now real.
Hey, it's Soleil, and this is episode 467 of the Orange Pill Investor. And today I want to talk about how to figure out if a Bitcoin treasury company is a shitcoin, and the things to look out for if it starts to become one, and maybe even some lines that can't be crossed about whether me personally, I would have to consider like exiting my entire strategy position. And a little bit of it goes back to Julie Millard's interview on Tim Kotzman's channel. And she talked a lot about authenticity. So there's several ideals for Bitcoin treasury companies, and some of them are true to ideal, true to self. They want to demonstrate courage in the market, things like that. And so we've got some drama bombs. This Matthew Cratter video is worth a listen. It's a pretty short one too. It's only 5 minutes. And apparently there's some like there's some attacks that people have been making on just regular old people running nodes, attacking people running not nodes, to be specific. And I guess I'm a little bit extra sensitive to this because as an investor in a Bitcoin treasury company to begin with, I'm already kind of labeled by the Bitcoin maxis or the Bitcoin only people as a shitcoiner, right? So if I say, "Oh, I own MicroStrategy," some of the hardcore toxic maxis or whatever the hell want to call them will say, "Oh, that's a shitcoin." And so I think I'm very sensitive to making sure that anything that I'm invested in is aligned with Bitcoin. And now that I've been talking for several minutes, I'm starting to get nervous that my audio is working. Anybody confirm? So I think it's good to think about that kind of thing. And certainly this type of behavior. What's up, Deeply? Appreciate it. Hey, what's up, Dana? And it's still early for you? I guess it might be sunrise. What's up, Andrew? Ish. So like Mara was one of the companies implicated in here. Was a Mara employee, and I've long since stopped owning Mara. I still run the wheel in some of the mining companies, and I took Mara off that short list quite a while ago when they started mining Caspa. So my personal opinion is that they're not really a good actor in the space. But what kind of other things might be disqualifying activities, or what other responsibilities do Bitcoin treasury companies have in order to maintain their level of trust? And I know some people like to complain about proof of reserves. I'm not really that fussed about proof of reserves. I'm a little bit more concerned with risk of reserves. Like, I want to know how secure those reserves are. And I think Strategy uses, I don't even know if they've disclosed exactly, but I think Fidelity is a major one. I forget who the other big one is. I think some Coinbase has maybe a smaller portion. Coinbase is the one that worries me the most because they're obviously shitcoiners. You can actually purchase shitcoins on their site. So if I had to say, okay, I put the risk of Fidelity getting hacked at whatever 0.01% or whatever, I'd put the percentages of a Coinbase getting hacked at an order of magnitude greater than that. So we know that attacks will be made. It's just a matter of whether we'll be successful at defending against them. And when I say we, I mean companies like Strategy, whatever we're invested in. And so I think it is probably smart to have them at multiple custodians, but I think there's a little bit of a responsibility, I think, that these Bitcoin treasury companies have in order to have a little bit of a vested interest in the nodes themselves and this Knots Core controversy. Because, I think Ben posted that Strategy now has over 3% of all the Bitcoin. And that is an insane amount. But if he made that same post and it said, Strategy has now acquired 3% of all the Ethereum, it would be a meaningless post. No one would give a fuck, and no one should give a fuck. And so if spam turns Bitcoin into Ethereum, then all of my stacking is for nothing. The MNAV, Strategy's MNAV, is a meaningless number, because what difference does it matter if you have a 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 MNAV of something that's worthless? Right? A bajillion Bitcoin times 0 is still 0. So I think we and Bitcoin treasury companies also may be getting swept up in some of the wrong metrics. Bitcoin per share is great, but maintaining the decentralization and security of the Bitcoin is paramount. And if Strategy ever gets to 1 million Bitcoin, they're going to have some serious influence on the next hard fork. Now, hopefully this Knots Core controversy doesn't result in a hard fork. But if it does, some of these huge whales are going to have an undue influence on the fork that survives. And if Bitcoin Cash had won the block size war, then Bitcoin would have failed. And so I think we have to get this right. And I've yet to hear something that Jeff Booth has said that I disagreed with, and he's usually saying something that gets me spun off into a new direction. after I listened to like 25 hours of the Sailor series on what is money, I don't know. I probably didn't hear a unique position on Bitcoin until I heard Jeff Booth speak, and then actually the other Jeff, the one that wrote Soft War. No, Jason Lowry. It's a J. It's not a Jeff. And Jeff Booth said that he thinks that Saylor is a good actor in the space. However, he did allow for we have to be vigilant because the fiat system will attack Bitcoin. And if they can't attack it on the base layer, which I don't know if the attack that Core is making on the spam filters technically is an attack on the base layer, or because it's not a consensus mechanism, it's technically like above the base layer. Maybe it's like layer 1.5 or something. But regardless, Jeff thinks that the attacks on Bitcoin will be at layer 2. So maybe something like Tether. If 90% of the world has all of their Bitcoin in Tether, and it's Tether that actually owns the Bitcoin, then there's a little bit too much centralization there. And Strategy is going to be one of these big players. And there's a couple of quotes that come to mind from Saylor. One is that the war for money will be won with money. And the other one, of course, is never sell your Bitcoin. I'm not really down with the never sell your Bitcoin one as much. I'd really like to see it be a spend and replace kind of thing, circular economy. But regardless, regarding the war for money will be won with money, that's kind of true. And right now, there's way more money invested in fiat than there is Bitcoin. And I think most of us think that that's going to reverse at some point in the future. But for now, Bitcoin has to defend itself against these attacks. And so if there is a war for Bitcoin, and clearly Bitcoin's survival, and not only survival, but it has to retain its value, is critical to Strategy's future, I think it only makes sense that companies like Strategy, Metaplanet, Semler, whoever all the big players are going to have to choose to fight on one side. And I don't necessarily know that the companies themselves have to run a node because they're not custodying their own Bitcoin, but whoever they're custodying with. And I think Fidelity even has some history of listening to the knots position. In my research, I think it was Fidelity. But I hope I'm not getting that mixed up. But anyway, I think Bitcoin treasury companies should, at a minimum, at least require their custodians to do a deep dive and research whether knots is the way to go. For me personally, it is. I'm running my own knots server. But if the war for money is going to be won with money, then if you don't want your Bitcoin balance sheet to become worthless, I suggest that everyone becomes a steward of their future and take a look at knots. Something that Mechanic posted recently was like, people might be surprised to know that they've been filtering spam Like if you've had a node for 5 or 10 years, you've been filtering spam the entire time. Like what all of a sudden is like, oh no, we should just stop filtering this shit anymore. It just kind of doesn't make any sense. But behavior like this, I think, is disqualifying clearly, and even our group at True North, we're going to start holding some events, and the first event that we held, we just had like a sponsor page, and I'm like, literally anybody could just click a button and sponsor the event. There was no vetting there, so I don't even know. Hopefully, we didn't have any shitcoiners that bought a ticket, but we'll have to actually make sure that we turn away shitcoiner money in the future. Like, that's going to have to be an active, annoying thing to do. And like Bitcoin Vegas, I mean, that might have to just be the last Bitcoin Magazine event that I ever attend. That'll kind of be. It was definitely fun. I learned a lot. I met a lot of cool people, but I don't want to work with shitcoiners, and I don't really want to work with people who work with shitcoiners. So it's not a fun activity having to vet all of these events for whether I'm going to be rubbing elbows with basically scammers or not. But them's the breaks for being grown folks. Nobody's beating down my door to try to offer me sponsorships, but there certainly won't be any shitcoiners in that list if I ever get big and bad enough to start shilling some random whatever. I actually really like Matthew Cratter's channel in that he has no sponsors whatsoever. So I'm going to say shill, but he shills his own product. Like, he offers a premium service. But when he reviews like cold storage devices, like, he's completely unbiased, right? You're not going to see any ads here. I'm not saying that everyone's social media presence should be ad free, but I do like that that I can trust anything that he says is completely unbiased. And I think I'll probably continue to copy that model. I don't need like money from anybody. So I'm not the richest person on X, but I don't need money so bad that I would have to compromise my principles for a couple of fiat dollars that I could convert to Bitcoin. So yeah, I guess this is a direct challenge to Strategy and any other Bitcoin treasury company. Take a look at knots, or at the very least, take a look at requiring your custodian of choice to look at knots. I think you could even pony up the salary for a developer. Maybe give Luke Dash or someone else to help out with the code and make sure that there are no unnecessary changes being made. The argument that he was running it by himself was no longer valid. He's actually got a team of developers, from what I understand. So you can't just say that Knots is being run by just one guy at this point. And I think that might be all I got on that subject. And then we can just take a look at the market, which is just doing whatever. It's just moving around. doing what it does. I guess we had a big whale sell over the weekend, and I don't know if it was intentional manipulation of the market, but shit happens. All right, appreciate you guys confirming that I'm not just talking to myself. Maybe everybody is busy because I didn't see very many eyes on the video as well. So I was like, that's unusual. Not that I get tons and tons of views, but it was way less than normal. So I thought maybe I was having some technical difficulties. All right, strategy down a little bit today. No big deal. It looked like it was going to crash with the tank over the weekend, but I think we're just kind of hanging in there. Yeah, so this is probably going to be quick, just a quick check. So all of the covered calls that I put on 6 days ago are basically worth what I sold them for. So nothing to see here. Same here. And I don't have any, yeah. I'm back down to the 50,000 in margin use that I had when I invested in Swan. So that's probably a bias that I needed. I've already disclosed it several times, but I did take out 50 grand to invest in Swan directly, which reminds me, I need to check and see. I think I've got a link to my shares or something. I don't know. I don't even know how it works. But so if I say anything good about Swan, it's clearly because I invested in them. I can't be trusted. The funny thing is I actually don't use. Oh man, I actually don't use Swan to buy Bitcoin yet, and what was it that they don't quite have yet? They don't have. I don't know. There's something that Strike offers that Swan doesn't quite have yet. And there's another one that Jack Mallers is one of my young heroes that I had for a while, but he seems like he got into bed with Tether. So he's kind of on my shit list. So I'm actually kind of excited to move my Bitcoin purchases over from Strike to Swan. And I think my dad used Swan. He couldn't get his KYC up with Strike. So I think he's been buying on Swan and it's been working out for him. So I'll probably make that switch at some point. But when I do, you can't trust me because I have a vested interest in Swan being successful. So, but whatever my complaint was that Swan doesn't have available yet, I know it is being worked on. So they definitely seem like a good actor in the space, or I wouldn't have invested in them. But anyway, but you just have to be vigilant about monitoring these things. Don't trust, verify, but like it's a never-ending process. It's like verify, verify. Gets kind of exhausting after a while sometimes. All right, so this account, I sold the 350 with Tesla. Tesla's been pumping, I suppose. So we'll see how that works out for me. Same deal here, not ready to roll. All right, the spending account. This is the account that I'm probably the most aggressive in. Like I literally don't even have any shares in this account. It's probably one of my smaller accounts as well. Just a couple poor man's covered calls and a freaking shit ton of 1080s that are down about 50%. So that's swell. This is the formerly challenge account, and I sold a couple of aggressive covered calls 2 weeks ago. They got wrecked last week. So I basically just did a double or nothing and did the same thing this week. So far, so good. Don't want to jinx it, but actually, I would love to jinx it. I would love for the price to just frickin' run. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Same deal here, not ready to roll. The 5K account, did I get assigned something over the weekend? Why do I have a clean? Oh, that was a roll. 200 shares of CLSK, and I've got 2 covered calls. So yeah, everything is covered here. Hardly any buying power. None of the stuff expires until the 29th. So I guess just a bunch of yapping from me today. No trades. Just monitoring the account. Check out this video. It's worth a listen. I actually interviewed one of the guys here, and I don't regret it. I'm a free speech absolutist, so I think more talk, more engagement is better. And rather than being hostile to people, it's almost kind of like just let them say whatever they want and let people decide for themselves what they think about it. And a lot of times people will they'll kind of say the quiet part out loud if you're not hostile towards them, and you can really find out what they truly feel by just having a regular old discussion. So won't be apologizing for some people will say, oh, don't platform this person, whatever. Definitely not going to apologize for that. But also, glad that we did interview Mechanic as well to give the not side. And clearly I decided on the knots side of the argument. Yeah, I think that's all I got for today. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Let's check the chats and then maybe we'll call it a day. Bitcoiner, you could get some income from shilling a company like Bitcoin Well, for example. It's a Bitcoin exchange, but they don't hold your coins. You can only self-custody. There are some Bitcoin companies out there doing ethical things and promoting them as ethical. Okay, cool. Paul says Swan and River are the best. Oh yeah, River's the other one that was on my short list of who to switch over to once Jack kind of got in bed with the Tether folks. Swan and River. Yeah, thanks, Paul. I think they're both highly regarded in the space.